Glasnevin Cemetery, Dublin, the cemetery that never truly sleeps, a true Irish horror story. The gates that separate the living from the dead. The streets of Dublin slowly disappear behind you as darkness settles over Glasnevin. The city's lights become distant, and an eerie silence replaces the sounds of everyday life. Standing before the towering iron gates of Glasnevin Cemetery, you immediately feel something difficult to explain. The cemetery stretches across more than 100 acres, containing the graves of over 1.5 million souls. It is not just Ireland's largest cemetery, it is a place where centuries of grief, tragedy, war, disease, and untold stories rest beneath the earth. Locals often say that once the gates close after sunset, the cemetery belongs to those who never truly left. Tonight, we explore the true history, the chilling legends, and the terrifying encounters that have made Glasnevin Cemetery one of Ireland's most haunted locations. A cemetery born from religious conflict. Glasnevin Cemetery was officially opened in 1832 by Irish political leader Daniel O'Connell. Before its creation, Irish Catholics faced severe restrictions when burying their loved ones. O'Connell wanted a place where people of every faith could receive a dignified burial. What began as a symbol of equality soon became Ireland's final resting place for victims of famine, revolutionaries, soldiers, political leaders, children, and ordinary families. Over nearly 2 centuries, more than 1.5 million people have been buried here. Countless generations have walked through its gates carrying sorrow. Every funeral added another story of heartbreak, and many believe that not every soul found peace beneath the old stone monuments. The endless rows of silent graves. Walking deeper into Glasnevin feels like entering another world. Massive Celtic crosses cast long shadows beneath the moonlight. Weathered angels stare endlessly toward the sky while thousands upon thousands of gravestones disappear into the darkness. Many visitors describe an overwhelming feeling that someone is quietly following them. They stop walking, yet the sensation remains. They turn around, but no one is there. Even during daylight, people often report hearing footsteps crunching along gravel paths behind them, only to discover the pathway completely empty. Paranormal investigators believe the sheer number of burials has created an atmosphere unlike any other cemetery in Ireland. Whether caused by history or something beyond explanation, Glasnevin possesses an unsettling presence that many never forget. The mysterious woman in black. One of the cemetery's oldest legends tells of a woman dressed entirely in black who wanders silently among the graves. Witnesses describe seeing her standing beside forgotten headstones with her head lowered, as though mourning someone long dead. Others claim she slowly walks between monuments before fading into darkness without making a sound. The most disturbing part of these sightings is that no one has ever reported seeing her arrive or leave. Security workers have occasionally noticed what appears to be a lone visitor after closing time. Yet whenever they investigate, the pathways are empty, with no footprints, no open gates, and no explanation. The whispering voices after sunset. As daylight disappears, the cemetery becomes unnaturally quiet. Visitors who remained near closing time have reported hearing whispers carried by the wind. At first, they believe nearby tourists are talking. But as they listen carefully, they realize the voices seem to come from every direction at once. Some describe hearing their own names spoken softly. Others hear distant conversations in voices too faint to understand. Several paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained sounds during overnight investigations, soft murmurs, breathing, and strange knocks that could not be traced to any visible source. While skeptics attribute these sounds to environmental noise, believers argue that Glasnevin's dead still communicate in ways science cannot fully explain. The shadow figures between the monuments. Perhaps the most commonly reported paranormal experience involves dark human-shaped figures moving silently among the graves. Witnesses often notice these figures in their peripheral vision. They appear to walk between monuments before disappearing behind stone crosses. When observers immediately follow, they find nothing. Photographers have occasionally reported capturing dark silhouettes that were not visible when the photograph was taken. Some images show unexplained shadows standing behind visitors despite no one else being present. Although none of these photographs prove the paranormal, they continue to fuel Glasnevin's reputation as one of Ireland's most mysterious cemeteries. The children who never grew up. Thousands of children lost their lives during Ireland's Great Famine and outbreaks of disease in the 19th century. Many now rest within Glasnevin. Some visitors claim to hear the distant laughter of children echoing through otherwise empty sections of the cemetery. Others report hearing tiny footsteps running across the paths before everything falls silent again. Parents visiting the cemetery have occasionally spoken of their young children pointing toward empty spaces and insisting that other children were standing nearby. No one can say whether these stories are imagination, coincidence, or something far more mysterious. The funeral that had no mourners. Among local ghost stories is the tale of a ghostly funeral procession. Witnesses claim to have seen people dressed in old-fashioned black clothing slowly walking through the cemetery carrying a coffin. The strange procession never speaks. There are no flowers. No grieving family. Only silent figures moving through the darkness. Those who attempt to approach say the entire procession gradually disappears into the mist before reaching any grave. No official records confirm these sightings, but the story has circulated among Dublin residents for generations. The Tower That Watches the Dead. One of Glasnevin Cemetery's most recognizable landmarks is the enormous O'Connell Tower, rising high above the surrounding graves. Some visitors claim they feel watched whenever standing near the tower after sunset. Others report hearing footsteps echoing from inside despite no one being present. Security personnel have occasionally investigated unusual noises within the tower only to find empty staircases and locked doors. Whether caused by old stone architecture or something unexplained, the tower remains one of the cemetery's most unsettling locations. The strange photographs. In today's digital age, countless visitors photograph Glasnevin's historic monuments. Some later discover unexplained shapes in their images. Transparent figures. Faces appearing between gravestones. Mist forming human-like silhouettes. Most paranormal experts agree that photography alone cannot prove ghosts exist. Camera reflections, moisture, lighting, and shadows can easily create unusual effects. Yet every year new photographs emerge, leaving people to wonder whether something unseen still wanders among Ireland's largest cemetery. The security guard stories. Perhaps the most convincing stories come from people who worked within Glasnevin itself. Over the years, some security guards have quietly shared experiences they cannot explain. Locked gates opening unexpectedly. Motion sensors activating inside empty sections. Footsteps approaching from behind before suddenly stopping. Cold spots appearing on warm summer nights. Several guards reportedly chose not to patrol certain areas alone after dark, preferring to work in pairs despite finding no obvious cause for their unease. Although none of these accounts provide scientific evidence, they remain part of the cemetery's enduring folklore. What makes Glasnevin so haunted? Unlike abandoned castles built around ancient myths, Glasnevin's reputation comes from real history. Every grave represents a real life. Every monument marks genuine loss. The cemetery witnessed famine, epidemics, political violence, executions, and generations of heartbreak. Psychologists suggest that such places naturally evoke powerful emotions that heighten our awareness and imagination. Paranormal believers argue that immense human suffering leaves behind spiritual energy capable of lingering for centuries. The truth remains unknown. The final walk through the gates. As midnight approaches, the cemetery grows almost completely silent. The wind gently moves through ancient trees, carrying the scent of damp earth and weathered stone. Behind every monument lies another forgotten life. Behind every name rests another family forever changed. When the heavy gates finally close for the night, Dublin returns to its ordinary rhythm. But inside Glasnevin Cemetery, more than 1.5 million souls remain exactly where history left them. Whether the whispered voices are tricks of the wind. Whether the shadow figures are illusions. Whether the woman in black is only a legend. No one can say with certainty. Yet those who have walked its lonely paths after sunset often leave with the same unsettling feeling. They were never truly alone. Outro. If you enjoyed exploring the true haunted history of Glasnevin Cemetery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more terrifying true stories from Ireland's most haunted places. Tell us in the comments, would you dare spend one night inside Glasnevin Cemetery after dark? Until next time, remember, sometimes history refuses to stay buried.